You feel lost in life simply because of one thing, one very important thing. You are lost because you keep looking outward. Okay. So say this is you. Okay. You keep looking outward. Okay. Instead of within. Now, this is a common issue for most of us, especially those of us just starting this spiritual journey, because we think that everything that happens or can happens does so as a result of what we pull in from the outside. So we keep looking outside of ourselves to gain knowledge, insight, information, some kind of gem, some kind of clue as to what's going on, right? What are we missing? Because we think something within us is missing, right? We think we are missing something. But in all actuality, everything that you need is within you. Okay. Now, the thing is, the things that you're looking for on the outside, you get to a point where you recognize the outside is a result of what's in. Okay. And so you see that the outside is not something separate from you. Okay. Which changes the outside in itself. And so then you start to understand and start to see the outside as a mirror, because that's what it is. And so the outside becomes this tool for what's going on the inside. But essentially, when we are looking to shift or make a change in life, when we're looking to ascend to a place of enlightenment, right? True understanding, recognizing who you truly are, self-realization, you have to understand that the search for those answers, right, are not outside of you. Okay. They leave you, with this sense of overwhelm when you keep looking outside of yourself. So what happens is most of us, we are led by what a lot of people refer to as the five senses, right? Which is things like, what you see, what you hear, what you touch, right? What you can feel, even taste. But those are all results or sensory mechanisms from outside of your physical body. Okay. Now, yeah, on a metaphysical level, all of these layers, right, are essentially expressions of what's going on here at the root, right? This divine spark, what I like to call the individualization of God, right? That is you. That's your purest essence of who you are. Now, all of these layers, right? This circle can be your body, your physical body. These can be, your environment, the place that you kind of hang out the most, your home. This one can be your culture, your family. This one can extend out to, the state that you're in, the country you live in, even the world itself. And it can just keep going out further and further into the universe. But they are all coming from this core. Okay. So everything that you're seeing, even though you're looking outside of yourself, is really an expression of yourself. When you recognize that, then instead of you looking outward, you recognize that everything is coming inward. Okay. So it all starts with you as the core, what I like to say, the nucleus of the cell, right? What you call reality, right? Or what you call life, what you call the universe. Now, remember, the things that are happening that you're witnessing are a result of what's going on within you. Okay. They're not actually grounded in objective truth. Now, some other people can objectively witness and give you a description of what is happening, but ultimately everything is happening on a subjective level. Okay. Now, what I want you to realize when it comes to getting the answers, when you go within yourself, you recognize that your future self already has the answers that you're chasing. Now, this goes into another conversation about time. Okay. Now, remember when I mentioned the senses, all right, those five senses. We also got dimensions, right? We got the three dimensions: up, down, left, right, back, forward, right? Fourth dimension usually is referred to as time. Now, all of those dimensions are physical expressions, okay? But when you are on a spiritual plane, you extend beyond those things. You are not only observant of those things, but those things mold, shape, and move based on where you are, okay, consciously, where your consciousness is. So when I talk about in the future self frequency is that we exist in a more of a 3D experience of time, truly, right? The body exists on just kind of one experience of time, but consciousness experiences infinite realities all at one time. Okay. So this is an expression of different realities that you can experience, but essentially your consciousness extends itself out to infinite paths, infinite realities based on different decisions that you make. And you can maneuver in and out of different realities. So what I talk about in the future self frequency is making sure that you align with the reality that you desire the most, because that is the reality that is meant for you. Now, you can, of course, go through any reality and still be at a place of happiness and contentment and joy. But you're here to experience a particular reality. And you do that by essentially recognizing, right, your desires are the pathway to that reality. You don't desire something unless you are meant, right, to fulfill it. And so when you go into a state of recognizing consciousness and you break down the barriers of what we think about time, which is more of a linear concept, right? When you ascend beyond that by going into a spiritual journey and recognize that based on consciousness, according to your consciousness, time really doesn't exist. Why? Because you are everywhere and everything all at the same time. And so the model of time, instead of looking like this, begins to look like this. Now, here is kind of a 2D image, but it really is in 3D, where it's front and back as well. And it's constantly extending, right? It's constantly spreading, it's constantly moving. And as you move from one circle, right, a circle can be looked at as an expression of different version of self, right? Because you are constantly changing every moment to moment, even when you're doing absolutely nothing. This image diagram is constantly moving with you. Why? Because you are still constantly being all things at one time. Okay. So what I want you to understand is when you are looking to gain insight as far as achieving a particular thing, that version of you essentially already exists somewhere. Okay. Say this is the version of you where you wish to achieve maybe writing a book. Okay. That version of you exists on this path. This path may look like different steps of achieving that book, what I call embodiments, right? Where you shift your mindset and eventually you achieve writing that book. Well, this version of you, because you want to write that book, is sending you messages, signals, dreams, aspirations, ideas as to what you can do in order to achieve this state. Okay. I get into that in the future self frequency, where your ideas, dreams, aspirations are messages from this version of you, okay, looking to actually materialize, to actually become. because this is what you're supposed to do. Why? How do I know you're supposed to do it? Because you desire doing it, because you think about doing it. Not just something where it's just a random idea. Maybe I should. No, it's something that you constantly think about over and over and over again. That's that version of you continuously sending you the messages to do so. You see? So it's important that you recognize that when it comes to you taking this path, that you recognize that the path of getting the insight and information is not something that isn't connected with you, because you are all places at one time and time doesn't really exist. That means essentially that everything that you desire is available to you when you break down the idea that you don't know it now. There is a version of you that does know it. And all you have to do is listen to that version. That is the version that is constantly sending you the little tidbits, the little clues. Okay. And the clues are meant to get you along the way without overwhelming you. Because imagine if, say, for example, somebody dumped all the information on you, like a big encyclopedia, giant book, a 1,000-page book. It would be so overwhelming, you wouldn't even pick up the book to even start the page one, right? So bit by bit, your future self is sending you the little breadcrumbs, the little clues to get you along the way, okay? So instead of paying attention to the outside influences, okay, you must make sure you pay attention from the inside, okay? Because the inside is what actually creates the outside. The reason why we got everything at a place where you feel disconnected is because the mechanism, the process is backwards, okay? If you're looking for answers, instead of looking out, you must look within. Now, the trick with that, the game with that is we have created this system or this game of discovering the answers within you. You know, it's like you have the eyes only see without. Your eyes cannot see behind itself, right? When you touch something, you only touch things that are outside of you. When you smell something, you can only smell things that are outside of you. Right? You can't invert your nose and smell within. You can't go inside and touch inside of your body. So it's kind of a funny joke or prank where it's like we said, okay, we're going to come to this planet to experience awakening, enlightenment, self-realization. But we're actually going to put the answer to that self-realization right within you, right underneath your nose, right within your mind. Meanwhile, all of the senses that you govern and move around and maneuver through this world with are all external sensory mechanisms or devices or tools. When, in order for you to find the answer, you have to, in fact, go within. Okay? Now, how do you do that? You go within by means of meditation, contemplation, self-reflection, practicing self-awareness. So in order for you to really begin to get the answers, when I talked about going into listening to your future self, right, the version of you that has the answers, right, you have to understand that that version of you, right, which is over here, giving you the clues, right? It's giving you like these little ideas here and there, and it's sending it your way. As you connect with that, as you recognize what these things are, you start to connect more with that version of you. And as you connect more with that version of you, you get more of a clearer picture of that version of you that has it. It's not hard to do because that is you. Okay. Remember, you exist in infinite realities as infinite versions of you. So that means you connect with that version if you choose to do so. So if this is the version of you choose to be, you can connect with that version. You can see that version. You can communicate with that version. I share with you how to do that with the Future Self Frequency, and you do that by a tool called the Future Self Journal, which comes with the Future Self Frequency when you order it. Now, what then happens is you begin to get a clearer picture, okay, of what this future self version looks like, okay? Then what you begin to do is as you sit in stillness, whether it be meditation, self-contemplation, what have you, you get a clear picture of what this version is doing, being, acting, dressing, eating. And then you begin to embody and act as if that is you because it is you. Okay. So you begin to act like that person, right? That person is you, right? The person who already knows where they are, essentially where you're going. Okay. Or really where you already are. Okay. Depending on where you are with the language. Okay. Now I say future self frequency, but really what I'm talking about is being that version of you in the now. Okay. So there are different levels of understanding here. We're thinking future, but it's really pulling the future into the now. Okay. Meaning instead of you choosing things from, say, the past version of you, right, which resulted in your reality now, which you say maybe you don't like or you rather not experience anymore, instead of continuing to associate yourself with that identity, you are now associating with the identity of that version of you in which you desire to experience life and love and wealth and abundance. Okay. So you choose, the things you choose becomes faster, cleaner, more aligned. Why? Because you're not just aimlessly roaming around trying to figure it out. You're connecting with a version of you that you can relate to, that you desire. And that version of you, again, is sending you the clues. And you're just following those clues. You're following those clues by way of embodiment. So you are taking on the characteristics, the habits, the thoughts, the ideas of that version, and you are just simply encompassing them, incorporating them in your life right this minute. The more you do that, the more easy it becomes, the more you incorporate more. And therefore, you begin to bring this version of you into the now. That is essentially aligning with the future self frequency. Okay. So you get the answers that way and you simply trust the path because you trust yourself. This is not about you taking advice for some random person wearing shades making a video, right? This is really you aligning with your true guru, which is your future self, your higher self, the version of you that has it all. That's what I'm talking about. You see, it goes beyond just thinking somebody else has the answers. It's recognizing you already do have the answers, okay? And a good way to get those answers is by connecting with that version of you that has access to those answers. Because sometimes we need the idea of another person, right, to give us the clues, to give us the support, the education. And so then you understand that you never needed a map that somebody else has drawn for you, right? Because a map that somebody else has given you is essentially their map. Okay. So you have to understand that even if somebody gives you the blueprint, you still have to make it yours. But in this case, if your future self has given you the blueprint, you follow it to a T. Why? Because that is you. That is your blueprint. That's what I want you to understand. Okay. So you only need access to the version of you that has what you desire. In order for you to actually obtain it without there being a bunch of trials, a bunch of errors, a bunch of questionings, a bunch of doubt, you know? So when you follow that guidance, when you walk that path, It is the path, it is the guidance that you're meant to walk, you see? So, in understanding the power of connecting with your future self, you bypass all of the mess, right? That's out here. And it's only messy, right? Because remember, this is all a reflection of you, right? It's only messy because you are not connected with that version of you. You're not connected with your desires, your goals, your ambitions. Because you're not connected with that and you're looking for something, then everything else seems appealing, seems to get your attention. And these things are essentially telling you that this ain't it, right? Because you're not connecting with self. When you connect with self, all right, then that creates peace, okay, outside of you. Because now you have peace within. All right. So that should give you a clear idea as to what this process looks and why it's so important to connect with that version of yourself. The version of you that has all the things that you want, that has it all. And I mean all. Don't ever think that you can have this, but not this, that you have to decide one or the other. It's and. You want this and this and this and this. The universe is infinite. You are infinite. So therefore, anything that you desire is available to you if you choose to claim it. And this is how you do it. So make sure you pick up the Future Self Frequency. The bundle is available at futureselffrequency.com. The bundle includes the Future Self Frequency book, right? The Deluxe Transformation Edition, along with the journal, My Future Self Journal. And then I also give you some digital tools that you can access immediately and start the work while you wait for your books to be delivered to you. Okay. So I thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, any comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Thank you again. Remember, go to futureselffrequency.com. Peace and abundance always.